Prof, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So you reckon we shouldn't be alarmed, but we're hearing reports of how this variant that was discovered in India spread so fast.
Yes, good afternoon. Now, this particular variant, we call it B1.617. It is a newly detected variant, and it is certainly very much more contagious, highly transmissible, like the B351, which is dominant in this country. So they probably, in terms of transmissibility, are more or less of a par. What we're really concerned about, however, is does this particular variant respond to vaccine-induced immunity? And fortunately, the data so far says yes, it does. It responds reasonably well to people that have been infected before, who had obviously developed immunity, and also there have been some vaccine studies, and also seems to respond to vaccines as well. Why in India it is of course more contagious, and I think also the kind of environment in India has led it to kind of spread very, very rapidly, to give really the kind of horrendous epidemic which they're experiencing at the moment.
Yeah. And of course, we've just seen that the Ministerial Advisory Committee on COVID-19, which is separate to your advisory group, is saying that there should be tighter restrictions on people entering South Africa. Would you agree with that?
I'm not sure that it's really going to make much difference. We know that the virus is already here. There have been at least 4 proven isolates of that virus in the country. So it's not that it's not introduced, it's already here. Whether it's going to spread more rapidly than the 351, which is our dominant strain, probably not. I think it's probably going to be one of the viruses which circulates. I'm not sure that much will be achieved by tightening border control. Look, we have to be concerned about this. We ought to monitor it, and we do need to have our regular traveller restrictions, but I'm not sure closing the border to travellers from India is going to achieve very much.
Yeah. So, Prof, of course, we've had our reporters out and about checking the vaccination process. I know that you have not much to do with the rollout of these vaccines, but we are getting reports that some elderly people are already being vaccinated. Are you aware of this at all?
Not really. My understanding is that the elderly vaccination drive will start soon, on Monday. But maybe it's healthcare workers who are elderly, because they're still trying to wind up this Sonke trial, hopefully by the end of the week.
And that's the Sonke trial is solely for healthcare workers, correct?
Well, it's healthcare workers, but also staff that are associated with, who may have patient contact, for example. But it is aimed at healthcare workers, whether they are patient-facing or not. It's the 2 groups, the patient-facing group and the non-patient-facing group. We now are, I guess, in the non-patient-facing group.
Yeah. As we approach this 3rd wave, of course, we're seeing more and more numbers come through. Many would argue that our vaccination rollout is still too slow. We're taking too long to vaccinate people, and now we're getting more variants enter the country. What do you say to that?
Well, the only thing is that, one can say, yes, it is too slow. We would have ideally liked to have had it at a much more advanced stage, but there were circumstances beyond the control of the Department of Health, and I think that's why it has been delayed. But on the other hand, one really cannot say that the vaccination program would have stopped either the variants coming into the country or the 3rd wave. One only has to look at what's happening in European countries, where countries are usually, on the average, about 20% of the population has been covered, and yet they're still having raging epidemics in many European countries with very tight lockdowns. So, one has to kind of, it will take time to get the majority of the adult population vaccinated, as well as in Europe.
Yeah. In terms of the vaccines that we've secured for South Africa, and of course more tests being done locally outside of the international tests regarding this variant that was first discovered in India, as well as the UK variant, are you concerned at all that enough has been doing in that regard, that the proper tests are being done on these new variants when it comes to the vaccines and how effective they are?
Oh, yes. I think our laboratory support is excellent, and particularly what we call the genomic surveillance. In other words, the surveillance which looks at the genetic material of the virus to look for these variants. We're one of the world leaders in that respect, in fact.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. We've run out of time. Thank you for your time.